Welcome to Business as a Magical Practice, where your business is the vehicle for your self-integration and soul evolution. My name is Sam Garcia, and I'm the founder of Dirty Alchemy Digital Marketing. And I'll be guiding you through how you can use your business as a spiritual practice and what magical businesses are doing to hit their goals and change the world. Together, we'll be relating the mystical to the world of business so that our work can unite spirit and matter, shadow and light, conscious and unconscious. Let's dive in. Hey everyone. So, if you're listening to this in real time, it is Mercury retrograde right now, and I'm usually not affected by Mercury retrograde. Like, I was born during Mercury retrograde, and some people speculate that people born when there's a Mercury retrograde aren't typically affected by it. And that's been my experience, except this time around it's been really fucking with me. Like my internet going out every couple hours, like in the middle of client calls and in the middle of doing things. And I recorded this episode yesterday and it just didn't record. It recorded 15 seconds instead of however many minutes the first half of this episode was. So this is the second take. And I love you guys. And this is a really fun episode. So you get me at 6 a.m., a little groggy. My voice is probably different than the second half of what you'll hear in this episode, but it's cool. I got to do some serious Mercury rituals. Maybe some existential kink. Who knows? But I love you. And today we're talking about the 5 keys to growing your business and my entrepreneurial journey from struggling freelancer to magical business owner. And this is more behind the scenes than normal. This is specifically the 5 keys to growing your business as a service provider. And by service provider, I'm talking coaches, healers, marketers, ghostwriters, interior designers, gardeners. So these 5 keys are for you versus a product-based business like someone with an apothecary or coffee shop. That's a different ballgame than growing your business as a service provider. And I'm just not going to go into that today. So for the last 6 years, I've been managing online program launches for spiritual online businesses, but only for the last 3 years would I say I've run a successful business. And I'm just now realizing that my dogs are making some really weird noises, so I'm going to lock them out of this room. I usually take them on a beach walk at this time of morning, so they might make some noises. They might start wreaking havoc. We'll see. Okay, so but only for the last 3 years would I say I've run a successful business. And since 2011, so for the last 11 years, I've been in the online marketing field, but it started as a total shot in the dark, one foot in front of the other. I went to school for physics and realized halfway through my college degree that I didn't want to go into science. The original plan was I'm going to work in a lab and do cancer research, and then actually worked in a biochemical lab for a year and a half and hated it, realized how granular and how competitive instead of collaborative, like all the different labs were just focused on their own thing and competing with one another instead of like you think people working towards like curing cancer or addressing cancer in a lab would be collaborating with one another. And that was just not it at all. But that's an aside. So I got out of college and didn't want to do anything with my degree and got into marketing. You may be thinking, well, Sam, your income has improved by just getting better at your craft. But no. While my skills and services and offers have obviously gotten better over time, it doesn't compare to the revenue leaps I've made by incorporating the 5 keys I'm going through today. Improving your skills within your craft, like becoming a better marketer or becoming a better massage therapist, those are only a small fraction of the picture of having a successful and profitable business in this day and age with our global economy fueled by the internet. So first things first, I didn't have good examples of self-employment growing up. Some people have no examples, which is not ideal, but I sometimes think my situation was worse. I had bad examples versus having a clean slate in terms of self-employment, entrepreneurship, whatever. I grew up with the impression that owning a business and working for yourself was hard. Making money was stressful. Money in general, stressful. My grandpa started his own graphic design company in Detroit during a time when the auto industry was thriving and when graphic design required art skill and loads of equipment, not just Canva. And he did really, really well for himself. And I have memories of my parents, both my parents ended up being graphic designers. And in our basement, we had all of this crazy graphic design equipment, like things that would do for typesetting and actually putting fonts down. So like these actual cards with all the different fonts on them and loads of different markers and paints because they needed all the different marker colors. And so, like if you can imagine like a huge array of different colors, they needed all of those different colors to easily access versus just opening up Canva and choosing some colors, as many colors as you want, as quickly as you wanted. So, and my grandpa actually, another side story. It's gonna be like a windy side story kind of morning for you guys. I think you'll enjoy it anyways. But my grandpa had tuberculosis during World War II and was stuck in a hospital bed, so he couldn't go to war. And after he died, much later in life, he died of old age, not of going to war. But we were, as kids, as all of me and my cousins got to actually see his actual art because, I don't know, he didn't display it in their house later in life, but we got to look at all of his old art, and some of it was these drawings and paintings of military planes and soldiers, and these were things that he actually was doing in a hospital bed during World War II while he was quarantined and as he was stuck. So he was this natural artist and actually got to develop his skills during World War II, which I think is really fascinating. But that's an aside. He actually did well because the automotive industry in Detroit was thriving at that time, and graphic design was a craft versus Canva. But later on, my dad took over his dad's business, so my grandfather's business, his graphic design agency. And over the years, as the automotive industry changed, mainly due to factories moving out of the US to Mexico and now all over the place, the team dwindled. The graphic design agency team dwindled until it was just my dad. Over the years, I got to watch that happen, and eventually he let go of his office lease to work out of our basement. My mom, on the other hand, worked for a large company, Chevrolet. She was an art director for Jeep magazine, so Jeep as in the car, the SUVs, Jeeps. And so essentially a graphic designer, and art director is different, but she was trained as a graphic designer, and she was also in the auto industry. And she was the primary breadwinner for a lot of my childhood. Her hours were reasonable, and she had her own office with big windows. So what I absorbed as an impressionable kid was that working for someone else is more stable, better money, and pretty cushy. My dad would work 12-hour days, and I'd barely see him. And later on, my mom was like in 2012, during was it a recession? I think it was technically a recession in 2012, but she was laid off from her corporate job and struggled for decades as a freelance graphic designer. So she couldn't get a corporate job, which is what she liked. And so she went into freelance graphic design. And my beliefs that came out of that were that people who are self-employed work all the time and don't get paid well. And that was reinforced by my mom after losing her corporate job and going into freelance, struggling. My belief was that people who are self-employed, people who are entrepreneurs, always struggle. So why I wanted to work for myself is really unclear. I had zero examples of success around me. I just subconsciously knew I wasn't built to hold a 9-to-5 job. I never had one, and now know that I'll never have to have one, thankfully. But despite my bachelor's degree in science from a reputable university, and all of my peers, all of my good friends, even though like I had an ego and I was like, I'm smarter than all my friends, they graduated college and got multiple six-figure jobs at corporations for companies, and I couldn't do it. And I've met a few other entrepreneurs that sing the same tune. They're hard workers, they're driven, they're intelligent, they're obsessive, but could never hold a quote unquote normal job, so they never tried. They knew that their inconsistent energy levels or battle with depression or anxiety just couldn't work in an office setting. And I grew my business with many weeks of being an emotional wreck with some extreme anxiety episodes. And because I worked from home and worked for myself, it just didn't fucking matter. So now, luckily, there are so many examples of what's possible. Amazing small businesses, online businesses, micro businesses, women-owned businesses, people willing to share how much they're making, how well they're doing, how they're able to support themselves and support their families and support other families by employing people. So we do live in such amazing times full of opportunities, and those of us who know how to support ourselves will always be the most stable in quote unquote uncertain economic times. That is one thing that I hope everyone listening understands. Your business can be a source of stability. A corporate job never can. There'll probably be a serious recession in the US in the next couple years because US is coming on a Pluto return in the next couple years. So not usually, I think it's like every 400 years there's a Pluto return, and you can look at old empires and you can look at old countries. There's these crazy ends of countries' reigns or huge uprisings during those periods. But anyways, you being a business owner can bring you success and stability because you create your own opportunity and you control the channels of money that come to you. My friends, that is the end of part 1. I'm about to transition. You're about to, this is where I cut off this first part of the audio when I was originally editing it. My husband walked in. I was like, oh shoot, now I have to stop my recording and record the second part. So we're about to transition from this early morning second recording of part 1 of this episode and go into what I actually recorded last night. So you might hear some voice changing, but shit's good. Excited for you to hear the rest of it. Anyways, my story nicely resembles my parents' trajectory of struggling freelancer. So I went into freelance online marketing at hardly a living wage. I started right out of college by charging $15 an hour and had 10 billable hours a week of work. And I was living off savings because I just couldn't be bothered to get a quote unquote real job. So didn't use my degree in any technical form, even though my plan had been to become a biomedical research scientist and work in a lab. Halfway through college, I realized that I didn't want to do that, and I had a passion for environmentalism and all of these other things. And when my passion actually got activated, I just searched for some other things and had an opportunity to be a marketing assistant for a business that I thought was really cool, and just saw that as an option. And I mean, also my dad died when I was 19, and I was seriously struggling after that because I never actually got help dealing with the grief and trauma and didn't trust the world or society or that I'd be safe. I really felt like society was crumbling, and doing anything corporate or getting a quote unquote real job wasn't safe because I saw my mom get laid off. So I just went into freelancing, and it seemed obvious, and it seemed, what's the word for it? It seemed within my control. So I charged an hourly rate for 7 years from 2011 to 2018, and I did more than double that rate over 7 years. But holy moly, I was at like $50 an hour at the tail end of that, but that's actually not enough to sustain a business in an actual way. And this is one of the keys we're talking about today, how to actually position and price your work so you aren't selling hourly. And this shift is massive. And it's not just about you not charging clients hourly. It's you not calculating things in your own head as hourly. Anyways, I was making around $1,000 a month for years, manifesting odd situations that allowed that to actually be doable, like free rent and fruit. I got to about 2,500, and it wasn't like I was working full time. These were all like, I was freelancing very part-time. Then I was like at 2,500 a month for years, and this was living in California and Hawaii, the two most expensive states in the US. And I just got really good at being frugal. And I come from the Midwest where frugality is a virtue, and my trauma around the rug being pulled out from under me was still alive. So I wanted to be able to live on nothing because I was terrified on some level of everything being taken away from me. And I should also say, I didn't have anyone else supporting me during this time. It wasn't like I was living off of a spouse or a parent supplementing my income. And even though I'm now married, I've always been the breadwinner in our relationship. But I also didn't have kids. I don't have kids. I didn't have student loans or any other debt to pay off. So just bringing in enough to cover whatever worked. So my journey starts by answering this ad for a marketing assistant at that business that I was obsessed with. And there was a woman I was absolutely enthralled in the vegan detox community, because I was a vegan at the time before it really fucked with my health. Different story, different time. But I had this super transformative experience of actually connecting how food affected my health and how what I ate actually affected my mental health. And I just got so obsessed because I wanted to move her mission forward. So the opportunity to do marketing on her team or just be a part of her team was incredibly exciting to me. And I was hardly qualified. I had taken like one course in marketing. I had a physics degree, like that's not marketing. And from that time, I've always been committed to the idea that I can figure anything out. And I mean, that's really been something. I'm like highly intelligent human, just like you are, I'm sure. But I really have carried this belief for as long as I can remember that I can figure anything out. Like if I can find the answer to something, so I can fill any position. And in retrospect, my hourly rate was so ridiculously low that it didn't actually matter whether I was qualified or not. I at the time would rather get paid significantly less than what my degree afforded me. And it didn't matter because I was unwilling to do work that I thought wasn't changing the world. And I'm sure you can relate. I'd rather just not work or work for significantly less if it's stuff that is actually valuable and I'm passionate about. So the next step in this journey after doing this work for this vegan detox company, and this is all online marketing. She had online courses and stuff. So that was really the jump into getting familiar with online courses and marketing of online courses. But I did some work for a mead company in San Diego, and mead is honey wine. So when I was living in Hawaii, wanted to move back to the mainland because I had island fever. So I just emailed a bunch of companies and pitched a bunch of companies that I thought were cool. And I raised my rate. It was the first time raising my rate from like $15 an hour to $20 an hour. And that was so fucking terrifying. I actually remember talking after an interview with this company, talking with my husband, boyfriend at the time, now husband, and being like, I don't know if I can give that much value. I don't know if I'm worth that much, $20 an hour, which is just mind-blowing to me now. And from that, I worked with them for a couple years, and then through a connection with this original vegan detox lady, I found the next company, and this ended up being a spiritual business selling online courses having to do with spirituality. And I just reached out and asked if she needed help. And I mean, this has been very consistent, such human design manifestor vibes of just like having an urge and reaching out to someone for another opportunity. And so I entered into this, what I can now see as a paid internship, or a paid apprenticeship, essentially in online launch management. But I just started with I'll do anything type virtual assistant to becoming a tech expert, to becoming a launch manager. And that progressed really quickly just because I pick up numbers and tech very quickly. And just doing all the random in between kind of person. And that has been, now I'm getting off topic, but we're just going to go with it. That has been something that has helped me thrive so much in all of the work that I've done, is the willingness to do anything. So jumping onto this team and doing online launches for courses and being like, yeah, I'm willing to do customer service. I'm willing to do the annoying admin tasks, and I'm willing to do the managerial tasks, and I'm willing to do the higher level tasks and everything in between. Because when you have this lean team, it's all hands on deck. And for most of us, that's, unless you're a multi-million-dollar company, you're going to have a small team, or you're a company with a physical address in which you need a lot of people to deal with stuff. But for online businesses, you're going to have a lean team if you're doing it right, up until you're at multiple millions in annual revenue. And it is all hands on deck. And everyone needs to care about the mission. It matters so much. So we're 5 years into this journey now, from 2011 to 2016. I'm still working at an hourly rate, and there wasn't much financial growth in this range, from like $1,000 a month to $2,500 a month. Not a huge jump, but not sustainable when I'm the only one making a consistent income and living in very expensive places like California and Hawaii. So I coasted for another 2 years financially. And I mean, not in terms of what I learned so fucking much in that time period in terms of my craft, but there was no growth in terms of income. And yes, there were some like small little hourly rate jumps, but I probably ended up from like $2,500 a month to $3,500 a month. And that is actually a huge turning point for me. There was something in this shift that made a huge difference, from $2,500 a month to $3,500 a month for me. Your threshold and your number could be different, or it could be double this, it could be triple this. But for me, getting up to bringing in $3,500 a month was the catalyst to realizing I could be making way more money. $3,500 a month was finally more than enough for me. Because I lived frugally, it was the point in which I could think about saving and having some extra money on the side for fun. And suddenly, from money being this huge, scary, burdensome, I have to look at every penny, it was, it could be this fun thing. It could be this interesting thing. It could be this source of joy. And in the course of a few months after that point, I tripled that amount. So I tripled it. I went from $1,000 to $2,500 a month for years, then got up to $3,500, and then within a few months tripled that. So we're looking at $10,000 a month. And then over the next 2 years, we've exponentially grown. My business has now sustained 10x that point every month for over a year. And consistent growth with pretty even expenses. It's not like our expenses have ballooned since then. And I don't know if you remember what an exponential growth graph looks like from math class, but the 5 key pieces I'm about to outline led to that exponential growth of where we have you're looking at the main graph and it's pretty flat for a long time. And then all of a sudden it drastically curves up until it's almost vertical. That's what these keys did for me so fucking quickly. So let's just look at that. These are going to be the 5 keys, 5 pieces that needed to click into place for this to happen for me. And yes, I think if I knew these and worked on these at the beginning of my journey, I would have grown my business in 2 to 3 years, even 1 to 2 years instead of 10. So the 5 ones are, the first one, realizing that I'm a business owner, not a freelancer. Okay, I'm going to go through them quickly and then we'll touch each point. The second one is moving away from hourly pricing. The third one is getting real comfortable with sales calls. The fourth is focusing on mindset.
And the fifth is finding a cyclic way to set goals and plans to hit those goals and then evaluate how it went. Seriously, that's it. Those 5 things completely unhinged it. Completely unhinged something that was so stable at $2,500 to $3,500 a month and totally fine with it. It was just like, it came up from a lower middle class family. So like just getting by was like very much comfortable, used to it. I could sustain there. But those 5 things actually made it so it unhinged it so that there was exponential growth within a few months, within a couple years. So let's go a little bit deeper into each of these points. So moving away from hourly pricing is, so obvious. You'll cap your growth potential you're capping your growth potential with your time. Okay. When you price your things hourly, you're capping your growth potential with your time. And time is pretty like Saturnian. It's pretty black and white in terms of how much time we have on this planet within a year, within a week. And we also have there's a cap for how much you can actually work, how much your body can sustain, how much your mind can sustain. So moving away from hourly pricing actually makes it so that you aren't capped in terms of time. So there's a few different ways that you can go into that. Just raising your prices is always a number one, but creating courses or hiring a team to do the work for you, getting people who can do what you can do, and they're set like an agency model where they're doing the work for you, or it's replicable, or automating things. That second one was realizing that I'm a business owner, not a freelancer. So taking into account the full business. When you're a freelancer, it's just you and your time. Or if you're a coach, it's just you and your time. Or if you're a massage therapist, it's just you and your time. But when you realize you're a business owner, you can actually take into account the fact that you have expenses as a business owner. You have to pay rent, you have to pay utilities, you have to pay for training and insurance and paid time off and vacation and maybe employees, maybe other people to work for you. So when you take into all of that into account, it actually makes it so you have such a more robust way of actually pricing things out and looking at your business and elevating yourself from this freelancer to a business owner. So the third one was getting real comfortable with sales calls. And I've done an entire podcast episode on sales calls. So you can go listen to episode 51 from June 10th, 2021. So if you're not comfortable with sales calls, go listen to that one. But we aren't taught how to sell. We really are not taught how to sell. And it is one of the most foundational things you need to learn as a business owner. Okay. You being able to sell your wares or sell your craft or sell your offers is so foundational, and we aren't taught it. And we're not taught that sales can be fun, and we're not taught that sales is actually good for you and good for your clients and good for your customers and good for the world. So getting real comfortable with sales calls makes it so that you actually have opportunities to work with more people. Suddenly, you're not dependent on one client or one customer and them treating you like shit or not willing to pay you more money. When you're willing to do sales, you can get 10 no's. You can do 10 sales calls and get 10 no's, but at some point you're going to get a yes. And of course, when you actually improve your sales skill set, you make it so that you get 10 yeses instead of 10 no's. But when you open up to, people will say no and people will not want your prices. But that's okay. You'll find people that will. And you're willing to be rejected, and you're willing to have those harder conversations or uncomfortable conversations or talk about the taboo thing that is money and value. That is so key to growing your business. And it's okay if you don't know that yet because we aren't taught it. Okay, fourth one is focusing on mindset. So I was so resistant to this. I knew mindset coaches. You see mindset coaches everywhere. And it just seemed so fucking basic. And I was very convinced I was too smart for mindset work. I was too spiritually evolved for mindset work. I was like, I'm already doing shadow work, so all your fucking mindset stuff is too dumb, and mindset work doesn't take into account the nervous system and blah, 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 blah. But when I actually started focusing on mindset work as a spiritually evolved person, as a business owner, as like while working all this on the quote unquote practical things like improving your sales call skills, things rapidly grew. And it was such a missing piece. And if I would have thought that I was too smart for it or too evolved to work on my mindset and that was just too basic for me, then I wouldn't have grown. I would have kept things much harder than they needed to be. So you actually working on your thoughts and your beliefs and your mindset is so key in growing your business. Okay, and our fifth one is finding a cyclic way to set goals and plans to hit those goals and then evaluate how it went. The way I just said that may have made it confusing, but basically when you're actually a business owner, setting up a way so that you can look at a month or look at a year or look at a quarter or whatever, or look at a week and say, this is my goal for this week or this month. We'll keep it at months. So it's because a lot of people set monthly goals. So looking at a month and be like, I want to hit $5,000 this month, or I want to get one new client this month, or I want to book 100 billable hours this month. And then actually sitting down and making a plan and cutting it down into shorter subsets of time. So, okay, if I want $5,000 this month, it means I need to make 2,500 each week. Or if I want 100 billable hours, and I need to have 25 billable hours each week. And then actually setting a plan for hitting those goals. And then at the end of the month, evaluating how it went and having a system for evaluating so that you can review it, so that you can learn from it, so that you can move forward into the next month with more knowledge on what works and what doesn't. That was so key for me. Because, I mean, if you're listening to this in real time, we're at the beginning of January 2022, and you've probably set an annual goal. You have probably set a 2022 goal. But if you haven't busted that into quarters, like let's say you want to make $100,000 this year, just to keep it easy math, that means you have to make $25,000 each quarter, or around $8,500 each month. If you're not going month by month and working towards that $8,500, you can get to the end of 2022 and be like, well, I'm not even close to my goal, and well, that's fine, maybe next year. When really, when you're setting goals in a cyclic way consistently throughout the entire year, throughout time, that's how you actually hit your goals. You have these smaller pockets of time that you're working with that you could actually face, whether it's working or not. So I'm really excited because I have been keeping a secret from you. We have been working behind the scenes to create a program that teaches the practical steps and shifts that I made from scraping by into overflow in my business. Like all of these things are exactly what I did to get to $10,000 a month and then beyond. And from having to count every penny and budget like a madwoman to being able to hire my first virtual assistant and start saving for retirement with extras to spare, and then having people work full time for me and being able to pay for premium support and mentorship. So all of that and a whole lot more is in my 8-week program, Monetize Your Magic, which is opening for enrollment on January 29th. So next Saturday. And the question I have for you here is, what would you do if you made an extra $500 this month? Maybe saving for retirement doesn't juice you up right now, but saving to buy a tiny house does. Or traveling, or doubling your grocery budget so you can buy all the fancy $15 loaf of organic sourdough bread from the farmer's market that you want. Seriously, what would you do if you made an extra $500 this month? Now, what about if you doubled what you're making right now? What would you spend it on? Maybe pause this right now and actually think, well, if you doubled your revenue right now in your business, doubled what you're making right now from freelancing or from your courses, what would you spend it on? And go back through each of these to see what your sticking point is through these 5 key pieces. So, are you attaching your work and your value to your time? And these can be journal prompts. They'll be in the show notes. Do you consider yourself a service provider, like a marketer or a coach or freelancer, instead of realizing that you own a full business? Have you worked on your sales skills so that your sales calls or webinars consistently turn into clients and customers? Have you done mindset work, or do you think you're too smart or too spiritually evolved for that? Do you have a system for setting sales goals every month and making plans to hit those goals? So look out for next Saturday, January 29th, because we're opening enrollment to Monetize Your Magic. It is an 8-week program. It's completely live. There is weekly live coaching calls with me in addition to the actual curriculum. And it is supported with Planetary Magic with Anna Marbach. I'm going to actually have her on the podcast next week to talk about Planetary Magic. So while we're talking about your identity as a business owner, your offer and your craft, understanding the marketing, the pricing, the sales, the mindset, how to create a 28-day process for getting clients. Anna has created 7 custom rituals that go along with each of the weeks of curriculum so that it's supported on this subconscious and magical level. It's not just the practical action that you're taking and the mindset shifts, okay? So this is really fucking powerful. There's bonuses that we'll share once it's open. And if you've been waiting for the Alchemical Business Intensive to open up in the spring, your purchase of Monetize Your Magic will be credited towards the Alchemical Business Intensive. So it's a way to actually get started with me now with 0 financial risk. So I can't wait to share more about it. We have like 10 days before we open, so countdown begins, and I will talk to you next week, and I'll see you on Instagram. It's at The Dirty Alchemy. Let me know if there any of these keys are like really clear sticking points for you, and I can't wait to dive in. Aloha, everyone.